This is breaking news coming in at this hour on World Today. The big Russia-Ukraine conflict and President Trump's intervention. He spoke to Zelensky first and then he spoke to President Putin. That's what the White House is saying. That's breaking news coming in. US President Trump dialed Zelensky first and then a conversation with President Putin is underway. The talks are very important, since President Trump is clearly the person responsible, according to both sides, as well as the mediators who spoke and the conversations that took place in Turkey, that unless and until President Trump intervenes, there can be no forward movement. President Trump and the White House making it very clear that if there is no breakthrough, US will walk away from this war, that this is not America's war. That's the big breaking news coming in. Trump is pinning his hopes on a fresh personal appeal to President Putin to get Kremlin leader to agree to a 30-day unconditional ceasefire with Kyiv. A White House official also told wire agencies on condition of anonymity that the call had started. So the call between President Trump and President Putin as we speak, since we last saw reports, is underway. And before he went into that call with President Putin, he went ahead and had a conversation with President Zelensky. Trump is also set to ensure that there is a solution to the 3-year-old war, and that he has said that this is going to be very important for a forward movement when it comes to not just Russia-Ukraine, but America's involvement in the war. If he isn't able to bring about a breakthrough this time around, and if the impasse continues, then this is not America's war. Listen into what the Vice President of the United States of America had said.
Look, I'd say we're more than open to walking away. Look, the president's been very clear. This is not the United States is not going to spin its wheels here. We want to see outcomes. And the first major outcome that we wanted to see, which we were glad about, is that we wanted the Russians and the Ukrainians to put a real peace proposal on the table. What would you need to do in order to stop fighting? That happened. Look, I'd say we're more than open to walking away. Look, the president's been very clear. This is not the United States is not going to spin its wheels here. We want to see outcomes. And the first major outcome that we wanted to see, which we were glad about, is that we wanted the Russians and the Ukrainians to put a real peace proposal on the table. What would you need to do in order to stop fighting? That happened.
The Russian state media has said that the call between Donald Trump and Putin lasted for 2 hours and was very informative. That's the information coming in, which means that the call between the two leaders has ended. We will wait for the White House to brief reporters as to what really transpired between President Trump and President Zelensky, and later between President Trump and President Putin. Very important, because Putin has set the ground rules when it comes to a ceasefire, did not go to Turkey, downgraded the delegation, and now it was for Trump to intervene, who said if there is no breakthrough, America will walk away from this war. Now, the other big story that India today has been focusing on and has been very, very troubled with in terms of what's happening on the ground and what has America really done. Israel launched fresh ground offensive in Gaza, while Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said the IDF will take control of the whole of the Palestinian enclave. Israeli airstrikes damaged medicine warehouse with many patients along with doctors stuck inside. With the international community condemning Israel for not letting in aid into Gaza, trucks carrying aid crossed from Israel or the Israeli side to the road bordering the Gaza Strip. Here's a report.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said his country will take control of the whole of Gaza as the military pressed a newly intensified campaign in the war-ravaged territory.
Eventually reaching a situation where we have an area that is entirely controlled by the IDF, and the entire civilian population of Gaza can get there and receive the aid, and Hamas receives nothing. This is part of defeating Hamas in parallel with the tremendous military pressure, our massive entry to essentially take over all of Gaza and strip Hamas of all ability to plunder humanitarian aid. This is the war and victory plan.
Israel announced that it would let a basic amount of food into the Gaza Strip, as it was necessary to prevent a famine for diplomatic reasons as pressure from the international community rises. 3 trucks carrying aid were seen driving out of the grounds of the Kerem Shalom, crossing from the Israeli side and through road bordering the Gaza Strip.
Gaza, the humanitarian situation in Gaza is unacceptable. For 2 months now, no humanitarian supplies have entered Gaza. Aid must reach civilians in need immediately, and the blockade on Gaza needs to be lifted now, because humanitarian aid must never be politicized. And we are calling for a resumption of the ceasefire and the immediate release of the hostages so that a permanent end of the hostilities can be finally achieved.
Israeli airstrikes continue. Rescuers said airstrikes killed at least 22 people after Israel began extensive ground operations against Hamas in Gaza. On Monday, they damaged the medicine warehouse in Nasir Hospital. Cartons of medical supplies were left coated in debris.
Today, the stock of medical solution for patients and the stock of solutions for kidney dialysis patients are being targeted. This simply means that kidney dialysis patients are being sentenced to death. I am now inside a medical complex. More than 500 patients who are currently inside the complex are subject to not receive health services.
Residents and medics in Gaza said an Israeli undercover force killed a militant leader in a raid. As the Israeli army proceeded with its new ground offensive against Hamas-led Palestinian militants. Ahmad Saran, a commander of the Popular Resistance Committee, a militant group allied with Hamas, was killed in the raid by forces in Khan Yunis, disguised as displaced person. Saran clashed with the forces before he was killed. Israelis detained his wife and children before retreating towards the eastern border.
Where are the human rights that we used to hear about? Where is the International Criminal Code that we used to hear about? These are all lies. What we learned at schools turned out to be lies. No one can stop the crime that is happening. They can't enter a bag of flour. What rulers? What presidents? What armies? Who are they prepping the tanks for? I call the whole world, all Arab armies and Muslims, to interfere to stop crime and genocide war in Gaza Strip. What is happening in the Gaza Strip is a genocide that targets children, women, elderlies, and all civilians in the Gaza Strip.
Israel continues to pound Gaza with its military strike on one hand while starving its population through blockade. Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's office said Israel will ease its blockade and let limited amounts of food into Gaza. Facing mounting pressure over an aid blockade that Israel had imposed in March and the risk of the famine, Israel has stepped up its campaign in Gaza in final push to take over full control of the enclave. Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, within days, India will be dispatching 7 all-party parliamentary delegations to over 30 countries and world capitals, comprising 59 MPs from across the political spectrum to put across its resolve to tackle terrorism against the backdrop of Operation Sindoor. So will Pakistan. Hours after India decided to send its delegations to key international partners, Pakistani Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif announced that he would send a diplomatic team to important world capitals as well to present his country's stance. In a bid to restore its international reputation, Pakistan has announced a delegation led by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari to advocate for peace. The list of members of the delegation announced by the Sharif government has caused a furore in Pakistan because it doesn't include name of even one senator or MP from the opposition party, that is the PTI. Pakistan Tehreek-e-Insaf, the main opposition party in Parliament and Senate, has rejected the government formed committee headed by Bilawal Bhutto Zardari to engage with global powers and present Pakistan's case against India. PTI leader Senator Shibli Faraz has said that PTI will send its own delegation to the world and present Pakistan's narrative.
आप इंडिया को देखें, उन्होंने कांग्रेस के कितने मेंबरान शामिल किए हैं? हमने एक बंदा भी नहीं किया शामिल। इससे हुकूमत की तंग नजरी, इससे हुकूमत का जो एक शॉर्ट साइटेडनेस है वो नजर आती है, और उसमें न शामिल करके अगेन मैं कहता हूं हमारे नाम बिल्कुल आज डालें ही नहीं। अब वो चैप्टर क्लोज हो गया है। आप उन्हीं को भेजें जो कि आप समझते हैं कि एक इलेजिटिमेट रिप्रेजेंटेटिव्स आपकी दुनिया में जाके करेंगे तो वो क्या कर लेंगे, वो हम सबको पता है, अभी से पता है। अब मैं आपको ये बताना चाहता हूं कि बहैसियत पाकिस्तान तहरीक इंसाफ का एक वर्कर होने की हैसियत से मैं आपको बताना चाहता हूं कि हम जो कि एक लेजिटिमेट पाकिस्तान के लोगों के लेजिटिमेट नुमाइंदे हैं, हम अपनी मुल्क की जिम्मेदारी को कभी भी सियासत में नहीं लाएंगे, और हम अपनी मुल्क की खिदमत के लिए हम अपने वफ्द भेजेंगे, अपने पार्लियामेंटेरियंस के वफ्द अपने खर्चे पे भेजेंगे।
Pakistan is battered and bruised from the Indian Operation Sindoor and its own political leadership's self-sabotaging claims. And to salvage the situation, Pakistan knows very few original tricks. When New Delhi announced multi-party delegations to represent the country at international forums and inform global leaders about Operation Sindoor, Islamabad quickly followed suit. Former Foreign Minister of Pakistan and Chairman of Pakistan People's Party Bilawal Bhutto Zardari has been chosen by the Prime Minister Shehbaz Sharif to lead a delegation to present Pakistan's stance regarding the recent rise in tensions between India and Pakistan. The Pakistani delegation will also include Energy Minister Musaddiq Malik, Pakistan Muslim League Nawaz leader Khurram Dastagir Khan, Senator Sherry Rahman, former Foreign Minister Hina Rabbani Khar, Muttahida Qawmi Movement lawmaker Faisal Sabzawari, and former Foreign Secretaries Tehmina Janjua and Jalil Abbas Jilani. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar clarified that the delegation would soon visit the United States, the UK, Brussels, France and Russia to highlight Pakistan's stance on the recent conflict. The day the Pakistani Prime Minister announced Bhutto Sayan as the chosen leader of the delegation, British Foreign Minister David Lammy concluded his two-day visit to the country. It was pre-scheduled, but Operation Sindoor and the tension of the subcontinent dominated talks. Pakistan has said Britain and other countries, in addition to the United States, played a major role in de-escalating the conflict between the nuclear-armed South Asian rivals. By the end of May, Delhi will be sending 7 all-party delegations to key partner countries, including members of the UN Security Council, to convey India's message of zero tolerance against terrorism following the Pahalgam terror attack and Operation Sindoor. This united front includes names of stalwart MPs, and the 7 leaders are Shashi Tharoor, Ravi Shankar Prasad, Supriya Sule, Sanjay Kumar, BJ Panda, Kannimuri and Shrikant Eknath Shinde.
As a citizen, being called upon to serve the nation at a time of crisis is a matter of a duty for all of us. At the same time, for me, it is an honor that I've been asked to lead the delegation, and I look forward very much to playing my part.
जहाँ तक मुझे जानकारी मिली है कि मेरी अगुवाई में जो डेलीगेशन जाएगा वो सऊदी अरेबिया, बहराइन, कुवैत और अल्जीरिया जाएगा। तो जाकर के मैं ब्रीफिंग हम लोग लेंगे।
After a bitter armed confrontation on ground, both the countries will engage on diplomatic confrontations to win maximum support for their respective countries from the international community. Bureau Report, India Today.
Well, this is India's global outreach, and joining me in an exclusive conversation is Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri, former envoy of India to the United Nations, also a part of the all-party delegation that will be headed out to world capitals. Thank you so much for joining me here. Now, let's just begin with what's on the agenda and how are you and your delegation going to put India's case forward?
Thank you, Geeta, and very delighted to be on your show. I think there are several messages. Let me start with a few simple ones, straightforward ones. A, to tell people quite clearly we are a democracy and a country in unity. That's the message of all party and some of us who come from the diplomatic world being part of it. All of us want the world to know that, this particular thing of terrorism is not something that you can shrug your shoulders and talk about de-escalation. You have to be cognizant of it, and you were cognizant at the time of 9/11, but that seems to have slipped. India has faced terrorism consistently, has brought this to the world's attention. And now, what has happened, the heinous act of in Pahalgam on 22nd of April, let the world take note that terrorism should have no place in the modern day's lexicon in today and any other day. This is one message. And obvious message with that is that states that sponsor terrorism, states that nurture terrorism, they need to be called out, they need to be under scrutiny, and there needs to be a watchful eye on them. Let me mention the case of Pakistan. After the 9/11 attack, the UN had this famous committee called 1267, the resolution. And when you see the list of people who are listed there, so many of them being found in Pakistan, of course, Osama bin Laden being the most obvious case in all of this. Let me give you another sort of very important message. Look, which is, what did we do? Precise, targeted, and we made a clear message that, look, if you do this thing, which hurts the people of India, which hurts the unity of India, then there will be a response. The response will be targeted, and it will be a precision response, but it will be a hard response. And the world needs to understand that this is being done because we owe a duty to our people. And this is perhaps, as far as the world is concerned, our right to protect our people, but it's actually a duty for our people. And we want the world to understand that, what we did and the way we did it was absolutely consonant with global norms, with democratic norms, and there was no other way that a country like India, attacked in such a manner, could act. And then finally, let me say a simple thing to you. Look, all countries like the idea that you actually talk to them in person. I think this makes these delegations and multi-party delegations particularly important. You reach out, you talk to them, you answer their questions. This whole thing about, Pakistan being the epicenter of global terror, we need to reach out to people. And I think, therefore, there are these multiple messages. And I don't know how to say it. Of course, I'm very privileged to be part of, an honor to be part of this national effort. But, getting a multi-party delegation from all parts of India, from all political parties, to go in one word and make this point, coming from the largest country in the world, the largest democracy, I assure you, it has great resonance.
Right. Ambassador Puri, the fact that India is doing this global outreach, we're looking at Pakistan also do the same. They're also going to send a delegation. We've seen press conference countered with another press conference, statements countered with statement, and now an all-party delegation also is being met with another all-party delegation. Is this a copycat syndrome that we see from Pakistan?
Either, they are a sovereign country, they can do what they want. And as you just said, copycat is something that, they certainly know very well. But my way of looking at it, that, when they will land up there in the capitals that we have visited and other places in the world, I look at it very positively. It will clearly unmask them in front of the other people, because it will give those people an opportunity to ask them and question them on what we would have laid out in front of them, and then straight away unmask them. Let me draw your attention to these interviews by Sky News' very well-known anchor, Yalda Hakim. You remember she interviewed the Indian High Commissioner, and then she interviewed the Pakistani High Commissioner and several other Pakistani ministers. And every one of them trying to make their point actually slipped. And this is what I have no doubt in my mind. It'll get exposed. And so therefore, let them do what they want to do and go out and reach them. But let us also remember that countries in the world, in particular now with a lot of globalization, they know what it is and they know what are the right questions to ask, and to unmask those who are trying to cover up what they have done through these kind of moves like, visit capitals, play the victim card,
Right.
etc. Don't wash.
Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri, thank you so much for joining us and wishing you all the best in this effort, this national effort, expression of unity and diversity. But this is just part of the interview. If you want to watch the full interview, log on to India Today Global, our YouTube channel, where you'll find the whole interview with Ambassador Manjeev Singh Puri. Now, shifting focus, our business interests in Pakistan forcing US President Donald Trump to go soft on the biggest state sponsor of terrorism. A 3-month-old remark by a Trump aide shows that dollars and deals may be impacting US diplomacy now.
I think there's a lot of misperceptions in the U.S. about Pakistan. I think it's a very misunderstood place. I've seen no evidence that our administration in the U.S. has anything but respect for the leadership here. I view Pakistan as one of those close allies that we need to assist us.
Yes, unbelievable. But this vote of confidence is for Pakistan and its dysfunctional government, and the gentleman addressing the Pakistani media is Gentry Beach,
Opportunity.
a Texas investor and a longtime confidant and friend of Donald Trump Jr., who has set his eyes on Pakistani as an attractive investment destination.
President Trump believes in economic diplomacy, and that's why we're here. We plan on investing billions of dollars in Pakistan across a number of different areas, critical minerals and real estate.
The conversation in Pakistan may be 3.5 months old, but it explains US President Donald Trump's relatively muted reaction, and some say even a diluted approach to Pakistan-sponsored terror.
I know both. We get along with both countries very well. Good relationships with both, and I want to see it stop.
It is clear that the US president is viewing the subcontinent through the lens of dollars and deals. His economic proxy, Gentry Beach, not only visited Pakistan in January, but also met the Pakistani Prime Minister on the sidelines of the World Government Summit in Dubai on the 11th of February.
My plan is to be the person in the field getting stuff done, working to deliver the economic diplomacy that America needs to bring to the whole world. And for me, Pakistan is one of those very unique opportunities that's been overlooked.
What Trump and his allies are eyeing in Pakistan is the real estate business, particularly high-end luxury properties, the energy sector, and the technology sector, including a big investment in AI. Also on offer is a Dubai-like free trade zone, but the real deal is Pakistan's critical minerals sector.
I believe there's an excess of $50 trillion of rare earths here in this country. A lot of work needs to be done. We don't have many enemies in the world, but China is a place that's becoming more difficult for us, for sure. And I would tell you that we are going to take this into our own hands, and we are going to go out and get the critical minerals that America and American businesses need.
It's not just Pakistan that Trump and his business allies are courting. Gentry Beach also met Muhammad Yunus, the chief advisor of the interim Bangladesh government, in January, promising huge investments in gas and oil exploration business. He dangled the lure of investments in aerospace, defense, and real estate sectors as well. Gentry has also reached out to Turkey's anti-India President Erdogan. Business deals were signed with Turkish companies in April, only to be followed by the $225 million sale of air-to-air missiles to Turkey last week. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
COVID-19 is once again making headlines. There has been a massive surge in COVID-19 cases in Hong Kong in particular, and it has reached India as well. Actress Shilpa Shirodkar took to social media on Monday to inform everyone that she has tested positive for COVID-19. As per her team, she had high fever and so got tested. She is now recuperating at home in Mumbai. But the situation in Hong Kong is severe. Hong Kong government reported 1,042 positive cases in the week ending May 10th. In the previous week, the number of cases was 972. The surge in infections has been continuing since the beginning of March, when there were 33 cases weekly. In Hong Kong, weekly cases surged over 30 times in 10 weeks. Cases also surged by nearly 30% in a week in Singapore. There are also reports of significant surges in Thailand and China. Well, time to wrap up this edition of World Today. And before I go, I leave you with these images of a life-size rough bronze statue of U.S. First Lady Melania Trump that disappeared from near her hometown of Semnica in southeastern Slovenia. The majority of the bronze statue, situated in a field, had been removed from its tree stump base with just the feet of the statue left. The bronze statue was unveiled in the year 2020 to replace a wooden figure which was set on fire. Standing on a 9.2 feet high wooden base, the bronze statue had rough features and a face unrecognizable as the First Lady, Melania Trump. While police is investigating the case, even that unrecognizable statue of Lotus has now vanished. With that, it's a wrap. Goodbye and take care.